What do the karaoke song choices mean? Which stadium was used to look like Everton's Goodison Park? Did Nate's team talk cross a line? Keep watching and we'll answer all these questions. Welcome to Square Eyes, a channel where we recap, review and take a sideways look at your favourite TV shows. Today we're looking at episode 7 of season 1 of Ted Lasso, called Make Rebecca Great Again. This episode is rated 9.0 out of 10 on IMDb, giving it the second highest rating of all the episodes in this season, so it's one that's very popular with fans. Apple TV boiled the episode down to a single sentence summary by saying Rebecca celebrates her first anniversary to the divorcee as the team plays a match in Liverpool, which doesn't really tell you a great deal. Don't worry though, I'll give you much more detail in my recap. Let's get straight into it. The episode starts with the team getting ready to head off to an away game in Liverpool, where they're going to be playing Everton. Before they leave, Ted gets on a video call with Michelle, who reminds him to sign and return his divorce papers. Rebecca invites Keely on the trip to Liverpool. She does this so they can have fun together, but also because Keely takes Higgins' place on the trip, and she's punishing him for helping Ted in the previous episode. When they arrive in Liverpool, we also meet Rebecca's old school friend Flo, though she's more often known by her nickname Sassy. Their friendship dates back to a time when Rebecca wasn't so uptight, and hint towards a possibility of seeing a different side of Rebecca. As the players watch a movie in the hotel the night before the game, Ted, Beard and Nate talk about how they'll overcome Everton in the next day's game. Richmond haven't beat them in 60 years, and Ted is short of ideas. He turns to Nate for inspiration, but he's too nervous to tell him and walks away. Ted then leaves too, after receiving a reminder from Michelle to take a look at his divorce papers. Over dinner, Sassy tells Keely that the Rebecca she's currently seeing is one that is damaged from her relationship with Rupert. The real Rebecca isn't cold and hard, she is silly, fun and likes to sing. I like the suggestion that there is a softer and kinder version of Rebecca that could be lurking under the surface, as there have been hints of this earlier in the season, and then she's suddenly hardened up again, usually because she's been reminded of Rupert. Ted has been hitting the minibar hard as he contemplates his divorce papers. He's clearly struggling with letting go of his marriage, despite the promises he made at the end of the Tan Lines episode, where he told Michelle he wouldn't fight her over the divorce. While he's grappling over signing the papers, he's interrupted by a noise outside his door. He opens it to find Nate trying to slide an envelope under his door with ideas written down in it. Ted grumpily tells him to go away, which is completely out of character, but tells us how much Ted is struggling with the collapse of his marriage. The next day at the match, Ted gives Nate an apology and agrees with all of Nate's suggestions about the team and tells him that he should be the one to give the pre-game team talk. Nate then gives an absolutely scathing team talk, where he tears a strip off most of the team's players, criticising them in personal and needlessly insulting terms. The bulk of his comments are in the style of a comedy roast, with Nate making jokes about the players' shortcomings and getting a laugh from the players. But when he comes to Roy Kent, his comments go deeper, and despite Roy getting very close while Nate delivers his comments, he seems to take on board what he says. They motivate him and get him fired up for the game. Nate's team talk seems to work as Richmond win the game 1-0, with Roy Kent scoring the game's only goal and putting in a great performance. To celebrate the unexpected victory, the team decide to go out and hit the town in Liverpool. While the team are out in a karaoke bar, we found out it would have been Rebecca's wedding anniversary to Rupert. Sassy knew this as well and turned up to provide moral support to her. We also find out that the friendship has drifted over the years because Rebecca had lost touch with her during the time she spent with Rupert. After Sassy puts her up to it, we hear Rebecca belt out Let It Go from Frozen. While everyone else is enjoying the song, Ted suddenly becomes overwhelmed. We see his nervous hands start to twitch, the sound gets distorted, and it becomes clear he's having a panic attack as he rushes out of the bar. He squats down outside the bar, and some time must pass as the next thing we know Rebecca is outside with him, comforting him. Ted heads back to his hotel, signs his divorce papers, and sends them back using his phone. After leaving the karaoke bar, Sassy heads to another bar with most of the team. Rebecca goes back to the hotel, while Keely goes for a walk with Roy. Once Keely and Roy get outside Keely's room, they share a passionate kiss, and things seem to be progressing well between them, until Roy pulls back and walks away. Keely's completely confused by this rejection, even checking her breath to see if that might be the reason. Then we cut to Rebecca in the hotel bar, having a final drink before bed, and potentially making eyes at a waiter Sassy had been trying to set her up with the night before. Then she receives a text from Ted thanking her for her support. Rebecca looks to be torn between the young waiter and the message from Ted. When you couple this information with the romantic music that is being played over the top of these shots, it feels like we're being led to believe that things might be going in a certain direction. Then we cut to Ted's room and there's a knock at his door. It feels like they're suggesting that it might be Rebecca who has knocked on the door, but when we open it, it's Sassy who is there. While we don't see exactly what happens next, Sassy walks straight into Ted's room, and there isn't exactly a wave of protest from the newly divorced coach. My favourite line in this episode came from Rebecca when Ted asks her if he's going crazy, and she replied, "No more than anyone else." I thought this was a lovely reply. The tempting reply would be to completely dismiss him and say no, but instead she acknowledged that we're all a little bit crazy, and Ted's panic attack is completely within the range of expected behaviour. Despite Rebecca being quite stern at times, we see a genuinely caring and warm side of her here, and she really helps Ted, which is nice that she gets to return the favour after Ted supported her at the gala earlier in the season. I mentioned earlier this is one of the best rated episodes of the season, and it's easy to see why. It's funny, sad, dramatic, and the team even win a game, so it has a little bit of everything. The last time we saw the team win a game was when Michelle was in the country and Ted accepted his marriage was over, so it feels about right that the next win should come when he signs his divorce papers. The poor guy doesn't ever seem to be able to enjoy it when his team wins. The win was partly inspired by the team talk that was delivered before the game by Nate. I'm not so sure that the team talk was a great idea though. One of the central things about Ted's approach to coaching is how he wants to develop the players as people and help them become better people. I felt like Nate's scathing team talk was more destructive than constructive though, and didn't feel like it was in keeping with how Ted usually operates. I think Ted wanted Nate to deliver the team talk because he wants Nate to grow into his role and gain experience, but I also think in this instance, he wasn't willing to deliver this particular team talk because it was so far from his usual style. It's not addressed in the episode because the team win and everyone was happy after the game, but if the team had not won, then I'm not sure Nate's criticism would have been quite so quickly forgotten. I think the show did a really good job of portraying Ted's panic attacks in the karaoke bar. The combination of physical, visual and audio symptoms combined to give you a sense of how Ted was feeling, and how he almost becomes disconnected from space and time until Rebecca is crouched down in front of him, which had to be a good while later because she was in the middle of the song when he left the bar. Mental health issues can be often clumsily dealt with in TV shows for the purposes of plot development, but I felt like it was nicely done here. As for Ted and Sassy getting together at the end of the episode, I was a little bit shocked at first, but then it made sense the more I thought about it. Sassy made it perfectly clear from the start that she was interested in Ted, and with all the emotional turmoil that he's put himself through with the divorce papers, Ted was in need of some comfort, and most likely on the rebound a bit too. It might not be one of those pairings that's going to last a lifetime, but on that particular night it made sense for both of them for their own reasons, and that was enough. Roy and Keeley almost but not quite getting together was another interesting development. It's been building for quite a number of episodes, and it was more of a surprise that Roy pulled away than the fact he kissed her. Perhaps he couldn't bring himself to kiss Jamie Tartt's ex-girlfriend because of their rivalry, or perhaps he had some old-fashioned ideas about courtship and wanted to do things differently. We've certainly not heard the end of it though. As for Rebecca and the much younger waiter, I think that's one where you're going to have to choose your own ending, as we'll never know what happened there. It may be that she just took herself off to bed on her own, or maybe not. Who can say? The team are meant to be playing Everton at Goodison Park, but bits of Fulham's branding can be seen because they filmed at their stadium, Craven Cottage. This makes sense as the production is based in London, and having watched games at both stadiums, they both have a very old-fashioned kind of feel to them, so I can see why they use Craven Cottage as a stand-in for Goodison Park. They could just have done more CGI work to get rid of Fulham's crests. When Nate is roasting the players before the game, he mentioned that Roy Kent's anger was his superpower. The actor who plays Kent, Brett Goldstein, wrote, directed and starred in a low-budget superhero film called Super Bob. I've seen it and I'd really recommend it if you've got a few hours spare and you want to watch a fun film that doesn't take itself too seriously. It's currently free to watch on Amazon Prime Video in the UK. The film that the players watch in the hotel the night before the game is The Iron Giant. This is a story about somebody literally losing themselves in a foreign land and having to put themselves back together again. Maybe I'm overthinking things, but this sounds a lot like the journey Ted is going through at the moment. It might be a coincidence, but with Ted Lasso it feels like every single detail is relevant and it's been thought about. On a similar note, let's consider the karaoke song choices. Coach Beard goes with Bad Romance by Lady Gaga. We've already discovered that Coach Beard doesn't believe in long-term relationships, and his relationship with the woman from the chess club didn't even last to the end of the night at the gala dinner. So him singing about Bad Romance seems entirely in character. I loved his commitment to the song. Despite seeming like a straight-laced and serious person, he likes to let his hair down when the opportunity presents itself. Sam chooses Wonderwall by Oasis and absolutely murders it. Oasis are a Manchester band and their members are famously Manchester City fans. A Wonderwall is played at their games at the Etihad Stadium whenever Manchester City play their home games. As Jamie Tartt left Richmond to go play for Manchester City at the end of the last episode, could this song be a musical tribute to Jamie Tartt? Rebecca singing Let It Go from Frozen seems to have been chosen to coincide with Ted's panic attack, and it seems that the lyrics of the song may actually contribute to Ted's rising panic as he struggled to let go of his marriage and sign the divorce papers. Looking at it from another angle, I suspect the song may have also been chosen because it's an incredibly difficult song to sing, and therefore an opportunity to showcase just how good a singer Hannah Waddingham is. She's had a career where she starred in musicals on both Broadway and the West End, so she really knows how to hold a tune. There are two references to Kansas City barbecue places in this episode. The first one is that Ted's laptop background is a picture of Joe Bryant's barbecue in Kansas City. The second one is that in his hotel room he changes into a t-shirt that says Joe Arthur Gatestack, which is another Kansas City barbecue place. Richmond AFC were teetering on the brink of relegation before this game. Will this win against Everton be a turning point, or will they continue to risk dropping out of the Premier League? We'll have to see how they get on with the upcoming games. But of course, Ted Lasso isn't really about the football, it's about the people. After giving the team talk before the game, Nate is now growing an influence behind the scenes. However, while his words were effective, he may also have upset some of the players with his harsh words. It'll be interesting to see if his confidence will have improved after this moment in the spotlight, or if he'll retreat into his shell. Ted's now signed his divorce papers, so he has an opportunity to move forward, but also has the potential complication of a one-night stand to disentangle himself from, which is made even more complicated by the fact it's with his boss's childhood friend. Roy Kent and Keely's relationship hasn't even started yet, but they've already hit the rocks after he stormed off halfway through their first kiss. Does he have the emotional intelligence to explain what's going on, and will he treat Keely fairly? Hopefully we'll find out more about that in future episodes too. Then we'll have to see how Ted and Rebecca get on in the next episode. We saw Rebecca being really kind to Ted when he was having his panic attack. Will that kindness continue, or will she go back to being her usual hard self? We'll have to wait and see. That's it for this episode. Thank you for watching. I'll be posting new videos every few days, so make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications to make sure you don't miss them. Goodbye.